Hello everyone, I am Molly Walsh and I wanted to create this audio recording today so that I could share with you an exciting insight on an interview I conducted about a child's view on science. First off, I wanted to share with you all my motivation behind wanting to create this interview. As some of you may know, I am studying to become an elementary school teacher at the College of New Jersey. At the college, I am specializing in integrative STEM. STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. With that being said, it is obvious that I have a passion for teaching science. Since I'm striving to be the best teacher I can be, I have learned from my professors and my own experiences in the classroom how important creating connections within students' learning is. I know I have to supply learners with challenges and explorations because it is so important in science. I am aware that children need to be innovative and discover science with an appropriate amount of guidance as well. Overall, I know that in order for students to fully understand science and all it has to offer, teachers need to be excited to teach science so that students can be excited to learn. Because of this, I was very curious to see how the student I'd interviewed felt about science in their own education. I not only wanted to see how they felt about science, but also wanted to know what science looked like in their own classroom. With this knowledge, I was hoping to get a better idea of how I can make my future science classroom even more beneficial for my future students. I started off the interview by asking the child a few general questions. These questions included, how old are you? What grade are you in? What type of area do you live in? Do you go to private or public school? How many kids are in your class? Do you have a different teacher for science, or do you stay with the same teacher all day? Out of those basic questions, this is the information I received. My child that I interviewed was 8 years old, in 3rd grade, and attended a public school. This school is in a suburban area, and after my interview, I conducted some research on the school the child attended. I found out that the school is highly rated and in a fairly affluent area. The area, however, is not very diverse. From the interview, I also learned that the class size is relatively medium, with about 20 students. I also discovered that the student did not change classes for science. In 3rd grade, there is a primary teacher that the students stay with for math, science, language arts, and history. On top of those questions, I also asked how many times a week the child engaged in science. The child told me that their teacher taught science about twice a week. Once I had a general idea of the type of classroom the child was in, I was ready to ask more specific questions. I wanted to know what this child was learning in science. Knowing that the child had only been in school for a little over 2 months now, I knew the list would not be long, but I was still curious. The child shared with me that they learned about pollution and the problems it causes. They also learned about rivers, streams, ponds, and oceans and how they are different and how they are related. The child then shared with me that they are currently starting to learn about plants. I was very pleased to hear all about the content the student was learning. After going online and checking the standards for 3rd grade science, I was pleased to see that it seemed the child was right on track for a successful school year in the science classroom. Although the content the child explained to me that they were learning seemed to be great, it still did not tell me enough about the actual way science was being instructed in the classroom. So, my next few questions focused on how the teacher taught science and what kinds of activities the students were participating in. When I asked my child how they learned about pollution, they were able to tell me a lot. They described to me that their teacher read them an article about pollution in the oceans. The child then told me that they got to watch a video about the pollution in the ocean. The child said they really liked watching the video because they had no idea the ocean could have so much trash in it. The students were then apparently put into groups and asked to come up with a solution to fix the pollution in the ocean. The child told me that each group got a few days to research an actual solution the scientists were creating and make up their own solution, draw it up, and present it to the class. I was excited to hear about the way the teacher engaged the class, and I was happy to hear that the students were asked to make real-world connections with research. However, I do wish the teacher incorporated some type of hands-on activity that the students exploring possible solutions. But overall, I was pleased to hear that the instruction was exciting and had the students exploring pollution on their own. There was something, though, that I was eager to ask the student, which I feel is so important to any type of instruction. I wanted to know if the student enjoyed learning science and how confident they felt about what they were learning. So I asked the child I was interviewing just that. The student told me something so interesting. They told me that science was different from math, language arts, and social studies because there was not always one right answer. They explained to me that science was fun because they got to find the answer to a problem rather than have to memorize one. This stood out to me so much. I was so excited to hear that science to them was just more than memorizing vocabulary and content. It was exploring and discovering on their own. After this wonderful news, I was confident that when I asked this child if they like science, they would definitely say yes. And to my prediction, I was correct. This child told me they were excited for science and they wish they could do it every day. From this interview experience, I've been able to take away so much. I can see how successful science can be taught in a classroom, how a student feels when learning science in an exploratory way, and most importantly, how I can make science exciting in my own future classroom. I hope that this insight not only helps me, but also to all you listeners out there. Thank you so much.